Hi, welcome to this Excel training about the Vlookup formula. Let's look at our spreadsheet. In this spreadsheet, we have three tables. In the 5th grade table, we have the list of students, their final note, and how many times they miss school. In the score result table, we have the relation between the score and the result, which are letters from A to F. In the absences and comments table, we have the relation between the amount of absences and comments. The goal of this exercise is to create a formula in columns C and E to fill the results and comments automatically. So first, let's look at the information we have and what information is shared between the tables. We see that we have the final scores in the second column of the 5th grade table, and also in the first column of the score result table. We also have the amount of absences in the 4th column of the 5th grade table and in the first column of the absences and comments table. So we'll use the Vlookup formula to look at the variables in 5th grade table and retrieve them in the first column of the two other tables and return the input of the second column. Let's start with scores and results. So equal VL gives me all the formula starting with VL, so I select the Vlookup formula. I double click on it, or I could use the tab key. The first information I'm asked in the formula is what variable I want to find in a table. So I select the score on the left. Since I'm going to copy this formula for all students, I have to ask myself if it's a relative or an absolute reference for each input I enter. The final score is different for all entries in the table, so it's relative. By default, an entry is relative, so I have nothing to do. Now I put a comma to go to the next entry. Now that I have selected the variables I want to find, I have to tell Excel in which table it should look for that variable. So now I select the score result table. So now, before going to the next entry, I have to ask myself if this table reference is relative or absolute. Since we always want to refer to the score result table, we have to put it in absolute. We do that using the F4 key on the cell's addresses. You see that $signs were added to show that it's now an absolute reference. And now I have to specify which column I want to use to return a result. So this table array has two columns and we want the letter in the column 2. Finally, I need to tell Excel if I should look for an approximative or an exact match. In this case, we have to select approximative. For example, a score of 55 will return D, as you have to reach the score of a letter in the table to get that result. So approximative will look between two scores and give you the lower result. So let's look at the result and verify if it's good. So this looks good. So now let's copy the formula for all students. The fastest way to do this is by double-clicking on the copy handle. So now let's look at a couple of results to see if the formula have good relative and absolute reference. So now let's redo this formula a bit faster for the absences and comments.